What if I told you that the things you think you want, such as happiness, peace, or fulfillment, isn't what you really need? It took me so many years to figure this out, and I'm going to save you a lot of time and frustration in the next 8 minutes. Most of us think life gets better once we finally let go of those wishy-washy friends in our lives. But here's the truth I wish someone told me sooner. Hi, I'm Latoya. I'm sharing some of the most embarrassing parts of my life with you in this video because it took me way too long to understand this. When you grow up surrounded by dysfunction, you're conditioned to survive, not thrive. And I recently realized that even the way I approach friendships all these years was rooted in how I learned to survive as a child. I grew up in poverty, without proper parental supervision, without the kind of care that teaches you you're safe. I know what it feels like to cry yourself to sleep because you're hungry. When you grow up like that, love inherently doesn't feel like a right. It feels like something you have to earn. And when you don't get it from the people who are supposed to give it to you, you start trying to earn it elsewhere. My whole life was a series of attempts to prove something. Like if I could just be useful enough to other people or needed enough, then maybe I'd feel like I mattered or that I was worth loving. That's why as an adult, I kept showing up for people who wouldn't do the same for me. That's why I clung to acquaintances and called them friends. Because deep down, I needed to feel like I mattered to someone. This is because when you grow up in survival mode, validation can feel a lot like love. In my 20s, I worked as a cocktail waitress in a lot of the top nightclubs and rooftop lounges in New York City. The nightlife culture and social scene started to feel safe. I was surrounded by people, the drinks were flowing, everyone's happy. But here's one of the lessons I learned the hard way. Proximity isn't connection. I had people I hung out with a lot. Most of the clubs and bars in New York close at 4 a.m., so we'd go out for breakfast after work. And on our days off, we'd even go out drinking or go to parties or go to dinner as well. But I didn't realize at the time that I was confusing these acquaintances with friendships. The moment I decided to go back to school and I couldn't show up to these social events the way I used to, I stopped existing. Most of us don't realize that it's deeper than just wanting happiness, peace, or fulfillment. Because if it really was about happiness, why do we keep giving to people who wouldn't do the same for us? Why do we put up with people who only come around when they want something? It's because even the strongest person needs to feel valued sometimes. There are a lot of people right now who still don't recognize this, even some of you watching this video. I was dating someone last year and I saw a lot of my old self in him. And this is someone who was attractive and successful, a dream man on the surface, pretty much. He had a packed social calendar. He was always throwing get-togethers at his house. People are always calling him, inviting him somewhere. Every weekend, it's like a brunch, a dinner, a birthday party, something to go to, and he never said no. A few years ago, I would have been attracted to that life. I would have thought, oh wow, he's surrounded by so much happiness and love. Long story short, one night he ran his car off the road. He fell asleep driving, exhausted from trying to be everything for everyone. Thankfully, he wasn't seriously hurt, but he was living the same pattern I once did, burning myself out trying to prove that I mattered. Here's another wake-up call I had. Just because someone is nice to you, it doesn't mean they're trying to be your friend. When you grow up ignored and someone finally shows you kindness, you tend to cling to it like it means everything.
Her birthday party. Legally, let go. Let go.
But some people are just warm. Some people are just giving. It doesn't mean that we are special to them. When your own parent tell you you're not smart enough, even though you're a straight A student. When the people raising you tell you you'll never succeed because you're black. That does something to you. Kindness isn't automatically a connection, and attention isn't love. And the longer we keep confusing the two, the longer we're going to stay stuck in a cycle where we're mistaking surface level warmth for something real. And then we end up walking away feeling disappointed all over again. Here's what I learned. The real problem was never about friends. The real problem was about the part of us still hoping that someone would come along and finally make us feel whole. Waiting for someone, anyone, to prove that we're lovable, that we matter, that we're worth choosing. But here's the truth. The answer was never finding that one genuine friend or finding your tribe. Maybe the answer is learning how to heal your inner child. Because whatever dysfunction looked like for us growing up, whether it's emotional neglect, poverty, being ignored in a full house, we didn't just crave connection. We craved safety. We needed nurturing. Even though we're grown-ups now, we still have these wounds suppressed deep within us. And no genuine friendship or relationship is ever going to be a substitute for healing. We need to find the version of us who finally stops needing proof. The version of us who doesn't need anyone to tell us that we're enough. The version who knows, I was always enough, they just didn't know how to love me. Whether you've lived without friends for years or you're just now realizing that you've never had them, recognize how much of our lives were shaped by survival, not truth. And the happiness we're looking for? It starts by unpacking the conditioning rooted in neglect, chaos, or whatever version of dysfunction we came from. It comes the moment we give love to the part of us that didn't get it years ago. The moment we realize we can be the loving parent, the protector, and the friend we've been waiting for all along.